Welcome to performance testing with JMeter, and this session will be core to advanced level, means basic to advanced level you can think. So core means basic to advanced level, and I will be helping in JMeter and intro and pro certification. This is by BlazeMeter, so you can clear that, and I'll be helping with that. So that is a additional part, right? Now today is day 1. So we'll start with the basics of performance testing because many people are from functional testing background. So first we'll see performance testing, and then slowly we'll deep dive into JMeter, right? So today is day 1, and now in testing domain or in IT industry, so these are the things that we are aware of mostly. These terms like software development life cycle, software development models, waterfall, agile, scrum, right? Software testing, then software testing life cycle, then types of software testing. In that, functional testing, non-functional testing is there, right? And so we'll see what is difference between functional and non-functional, right? And generally these are the domains, especially in testing, like manual, automation, performance, and security, right? So this manual and automation are the part of functional testing, and performance and security testing are the part of non-functional testing. And what is the core difference, that we'll see. And yeah, so these two things I'll discuss. Then bug life cycle is there in testing, right? With very famous. And then we have to be aware of this word also. It's known as application under test, right? So anyone who is new, please read on this stuff on internet, because this is not relevant to this session, but you should be aware of, right? You should be aware of this stuff. Now coming to the what is performance testing and JMeter. So as we said, that software testing is divided into two parts: functional testing and non-functional testing. In functional testing, that manual and automation we say, but in that we test the user interface functionality of the application, which any user who is having that application. So from the user perspective, how the application looks, its functionality, other things, so that we test. And that we test using two things: either we test it manually, and we can use a tool, right? Selenium or EFT. So that is part of functional testing. In non-functional testing, what we see there, we do not bother about the user interface of the application, how the application looks, and other thing that we are not concerned about in non-functional testing. Okay, in that two things are there: performance testing and security testing. Now in non-functional testing, what we see that response time of any transaction, means user action. Let us say you launched the website, you clicked on something, you logged in, these all stuff. So these are known as user action, or we call them as a transaction also in the term of performance testing world. So these user action, each user action on a website, how much response time it's going to give. Basically this is the first parameter in the non-functional testing. And second, so the response time, another thing, the user load. Now user load, right? One more parameter, that user load means, let us say that our website, when many people are accessing that at a time, which is known as load in the performance testing world. So let us say 1,000 or 10,000 people accessing a website parallelly at a time. So whether that application or yeah, application will come, everything we'll see that slowly. So whether that application can access that much user load or not, right? So basically two things are done in non-functional testing, and inside that in performance testing. One is response time, and another is user load, right? That is the one of the non-functional testing. Now another part is security testing. So security testing is again totally different domain. In that we make secure our application from the hackers, so that let us say any banking application or any application, that hackers should not hack and steal the information of user, right? Those things. So it's a totally another domain, security testing. Now we are in the performance testing, and in performance testing it's part of non-functional testing. So here what we see generally: response time, RT, and user load, UL, right? User load. So basically that is our main focus in performance testing, and hence we see in either in performance or in security, we are not worrying about the user interface. We are worrying about how the application is working, or how, what is the behavior of application, or whether the application is secure or not. So that is why it is known as non-functional thing, and the user interface part is known as functional testing. So that is the difference between functional and non-functional. And then two type of testing are there in non-functional: performance and security, right? So we are in performance testing, and in performance testing we see response time and user load. Okay. Now again, few important types of performance testing are there, like load testing, stress, endurance, spike. So this thing we'll see later on, right? So this course is performance testing with JMeter. Now what is that JMeter here? We'll see slowly. So a little demonstration that let us say we have one car here, right? And when the car will be coming out of the factory, so it will be tested. So each component will be tested, like whether the steering is working fine or not, its brake is applied or it's working fine or not, its tire, node bolts, everything, right? And it's if any other software other things will be there, so that will be checked functionally they are working fine or not. So that will be the part of functional testing for that car. In performance, what will happen, that car, how much efficient that car is, means fuel efficiency, we can say that how much in 1 liter how much it is giving. Then the engine efficiency, right? If it is going very long drive, so how, in how much time it is getting, the engine is getting heated. So all these things are or will be termed or will be categorized in the non-functional testing or performance testing, right? It's performance. When when one people sitting here, or one, we can say one user sitting here, what is its performance? When all 8 people are sitting here and with some luggage also, then obviously its performance is going down, right? So all those stuff of this car is like is categorized in the performance testing. Now one more diagram here. Now this diagram here. So let us say this is a login page of any website, right? Email and password. So in functional testing, what we see that whether this first input in that it's taking valid email or not. If it is not taking valid, then what are the error it's throwing, right? If it is taking invalid also, it should not take invalid. Password field, it should take alphanumeric, right? And it should be minimum 12 characters, this thing, right? This thing we check in functional. But in non-functional, we do not bother about that, what is behavior, means whether it is taking email ID in particular format or not, or whether alphanumeric characters or a digit of 8 digit is present or not. Those things we do not see. We only see that once we enter the username and password, and once we hit the login button, after that when the dashboard page is coming, so in how much time it is coming, right? That response time. So that is the basic difference between functional and non-functional from the point of performance testing, right? So here how fast an application logs in is the performance testing, right? Now when a customer places an order, then he should get a correct order, right? So let us take an example of any order booking website or Flipkart or anything. When we book any order, any food order or anything from Flipkart, so at the end of day when we enter everything, so order ID is generated and order should be booked. So these are when we'll be doing the functional testing thing, we'll verify that whether order ID is getting correct or not, all components related to that, like payment thing, and the same order that is booked or not, that order is getting reflected in his my accounts page or not. So all these things will be generally the part of functional, right? But in non-functional, whether that order is placed in 1 to 2 second or whatever the acceptance criteria, like 3 second, that, so that will be the part of performance testing. You book the order is booking correct or not, that will be the part of functional. Now that order is booked in certain time, which is the expected time. Let us say my application, I want it should not take more than 2 to 3 seconds. So that should be verified in the non-functional part, and that is the performance testing part, right? So this is the minute difference between both of them, right? Functional and non-functional from the performance testing point of view. So here functional testing, generally manual automation. Functional testing tool are like Selenium, UFT, APM. Non-functional testing, performance testing and security testing. Then performance testing tools in the market, right, are LoadRunner, Stormrunner. It's a part of LoadRunner only. Silk Performer, New Load, IBM RPT, WAPT, VSTS, OATS, Gatling, JMeter, right? So our JMeter is at the last. Now this JMeter is what? It's a performance testing tool. Right? And basically very famous tool is LoadRunner in the market of performance testing, like how we have Selenium, UFT. So difference between Selenium and UFT, UFT is a very old one and it's a paid tool. It's a very costly tool from HP, right? HP. Selenium is a open source, right? Like that. So similarly here in performance testing we have LoadRunner. It's a commercial and very costly tool, but it's a highly featured tool, right? It's from Micro Focus. And we have JMeter. JMeter is a open source tool, means no license needed, and there is no other open source tool in market to challenge it. Okay, that's why the requirement, or the famous we can say the requirement, or uh, it's what we can say, its requirement, or it's famous, right? Why it getting famous? So it's publicity, it getting more publicized, right? It's getting more in demand, this JMeter, because of its open source in nature, and there is no other open source tool to challenge it in the market. Now some security tools like Metasploit, Burpsuit, SQL Map, SonarQube. So security testing is not our session thing, right? Just for information, right? These are the tools we use in security testing. Now one important term that we use in the testing. So any deviation from requirement or any issue in testing, basically in performance testing, we call that as a defect or a bug, right? And in non-functional testing, basically in performance testing, if anything you find, any problem, anything, deviation from the response time and other things, so at that time we call them as a bottlenecks. Okay, bottleneck. So this bottleneck is a specific term for performance testing, right? And in security testing, let us say we found something, right, some deviation, some bug kind of thing, so that time we call it as a vulnerabilities, right? So this term is specific to security testing. Bottleneck is specific to performance testing, right? Now why performance testing is there, or need of performance testing is there? So to uh, to save the loss of revenue, loss of customers, loss of product, right? Damage your brand, because a bad performance of any application will damage your business, right? So example will be, let us say that we are booking a movie website, right, on a movie booking website, and that whole process transaction take 5 minutes, right, or more than that. And in that 5 minutes we come to know that all seats other people has booked, and I was not able to do it efficiently, but some other people in middle he did, and the movie ticket were all sold out, right? And for me the pages looks like this kind of thing. You may have first faced this in earlier days, like now also maybe this kind of error will come, like page not found, or application has went slow, like that. So obviously we'll get irate, right? And we'll see, okay, some other platform, let us search on other platform, right? So on this screen that let us say that if any application is slow, let us take an example of Amazon, that when we are buying the product or navigating through the different process of buying the product, at that time that user whatever the user transaction we are doing, user action we are doing, it's taking more time. So we have more option in the market. We can move to Flipkart, eBay, Jabong, Snapdeal, right? If this product is not behaving well, or it's very slow in the market, right? That's why. So today world is a world of competition. Every product has its competitor in the market. Let it be any food booking website, banking sector, e-commerce site, education, right? Everywhere, everyone has its competitor in market. So if their application is not behaving in a correct response, means very fast, right? What that can be assumed in 1 second, 2 second. The websites are not opening, the pages are not opening. So at that time, no one will like that. So that's why this performance testing of any application is needed, and it's a need nowadays, right? So if application is slow, the end user is not happy, uh, right? He will not visit that website. So by that way, the customer, that business owner will lose his customer, right? Now, when the application becomes slow, or whenever application is slow, generally what will be its behavior? So if a application is not like it's not good, it is designed poor, or anything is there in that. So how we can recognize that its performance is not good? So it will be slow in responding on every page, right? When you are browsing, it will be stuck in somewhere in the middle only. Sometimes that page will not be shown to you, and 500 error you will receive, or server went down, so server like server bad gateway error you will can receive, or sometime connection timeout error you can receive, right? Request timeout error. So when on any website you are observing this kind of thing, so it means that the performance of that application is not good. It cannot handle that much user load, or yes, like 10,000 user load or 1,000 user load, like that, right? And no one will like that. So we have to test the performance of the thing. So now how we generally do the functional testing from any tool, like let us say Selenium or EFT. So this performance testing has its own tool, as we have seen. Loader is there, JMeter is there, right? So using manually we cannot do many things, we cannot do manually, right? That's why many tools are there in for automation also in market. So here also manually we cannot do, and that's why we will be needing a tool to do the performance testing, to check the behavior of the each pages, or each user actions on the website, right? To decide and to check whether that response time is good or not for 1,000 users, for 2,000 users, like that, right? So these are the stuffs. Now some real-time examples. So of so example number one, that one website is there in generally in a, this is in foreign country only, I think from USA. Okay, so JCrew website is there. Generally they used to host a Black Friday sale. So like how in India we have big billion day sale, so they used to have a Black Friday sale. So and one day, someday, their website was down for 5 hours on that Black Friday sale, and estimated loss they had was this much. Okay, this much loss they had beard because of their website was not proper, and it went down because of that big Black Friday sale on that day. Similarly, one more example, let us say that MakeSC website is there, right? It's again USA website, and it's a sale for furnitures. Okay, so again they also on Black Friday day, their website was not good, it didn't perform well, and because of that they were having a loss of this much, right? This much. So this is how it can impact any business. Similarly, our Amazon.com also, its server crashed in 2013 for 30 minutes, and his loss was like this much per second. So we can multiply in 30 minutes how much this will be there, right? This value. Now in India also, generally one very famous case happened when Flipkart hosted its big billion day sale in October 2014. At that time, Flipkart is the only company which introduced big billion day in India, right? And then Amazon and other Snapdeal came to, they started hosting Republic Day sale, August sale, this kind of thing, Diwali sale. But first it was started with the Flipkart only. So on that day they didn't expected that much user. So let us say what happened, that their application was designed that only 10 lakh user will come to their website, and okay, they tested that okay, my and that was in very old days, like it's 6 years back, right? 6 year back. That much this cloud platform were also not that much uh, uh, in demand, right? These clouds, AWS and other thing are now in demand from like 2 to 3 years or 4 years maximum. So earlier these things were hosted in the normal infrastructure only, maybe in Bangalore. This Flipkart is in Bangalore only. So they expected that 10 lakh user load was there, will come, 10 lakh user load will come on that day, because they hosted the first big billion day sale at that time. And yeah, they were sure, they tested, okay fine, 10 lakh my application will handle and everything will go fine. But their strategy was wrong. Okay, so what happened that day, even I remember that a good mobile, okay, a good mobile also they were selling in rupee 1, if you people remember, in 1 rupee only, rupee 1, right? A good mobile or good trimmer, like that trimmer was there, and many good handy thing, like day to day a person will need. So all those things they were selling in rupee 1 only, and because of that later on they faced many criticism, so that is different thing. And they advertise this in paper, newspaper, local paper, everywhere, that in 1 rupee I am selling this much thing. So when they hosted on that day, 10 lakh they expected, but let us say 5 lakh more came, or again 10 lakh more came because of their this strategy. So out of this surge happened that day to them, and their application went down, and they glitch was happened. So we can always see this link, right? I have kept for that purpose. So later they apologized to the customer for big billion day sale glitch, right? In 2014. So this is how performance impacts anything, right? Now performance testing is a very vast domain. It's not like limited to performance testing. In performance testing many things are there. So but first start will be always from the testing, then monitoring, engineering, and many things are there, right? So again that comes with some real time and good experience only, engineering and other thing. But basic will always start with the performance testing. Now what is the performance testing? The technical definition. So basically putting user load an application on an application and testing its behavior. Okay, and main objective of performance testing, generally 4 main objectives are there: speed, stability, scalability, and reliability. Okay, so just to test the application under test whether it is meeting the expected environment. So this definition, let it be, we'll see these points. We can read this later on. Currently now it will not be understandable for the newcomers, right? So generally what we do, we put the user load on application and test its behavior, and 4 points we take care while we are doing the performance testing. The objective: speed, stability, scalability, and reliability. Now what is the speed? To check whether my application is behaving, or the response time of each transaction, or each user story, right? User story, or user what the user is doing on the website. So that response time of that, right? The page is getting loaded fast or not, or in the expected criteria or not, in 2 to 3 seconds or not, or in 1 to 2 seconds on that we see. Then we see the stability. Stability means let us say that an application is designed to run for 365 days and 24/7, right? So we see the behavior, whether that application is running 365 by days and 24/7. It should be always on, and it should deliver its services, right? So that we see in stability part. So that is the second objective. Third objective is the scalability. Now this same scalability we talked in the Flipkart example, that let us say I have designed my application and it can support 10 lakh user concurrently, right, every day. Now out of sudden some 5 lakh user came, right, maybe, or some 7 lakh user comes. So my application should be scalable to handle this extra load, right? So that is what comes under scalability. And then reliability. So reliability means that we'll see in the this example that let us say whenever we are booking a ticket, bus ticket or movie ticket, or very famous example like our IRCTC website, right? IRCTC railway booking website. So we know that daily at 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. AC tickets here in sleeper at 10 a.m. sleeper ticket and 11 a.m. AC tickets are booked. And for sleeper we know minimum 10 lakh users are always there on daily basis for that website, right? Not now, but before lockdown, right? So and they used to book the ticket. Now the server is so efficient, the IRCTC website, that it never delivers a wrong ticket to anyone. And this transaction happens in 1 to 2 second, 1 to 2 minute only, or you can say maximum within 5 minutes whole ticket are sold out. Whole ticket of this train in whole India are sold out within 5 minute time frame, and any never that website sells or delivers a wrong ticket to anyone, right? Or a wrong destination to anyone. Never this happen. So this comes under the reliability of our application. Okay, so we test those things. Now technically the purpose of performance testing is that to validate the four main objective of performance testing that we discussed, right? Those four main objective. Then find and remove any performance bottleneck. So the same thing I have written here. You can read this point, right? um, the slide will be shared to everyone, so this we can read. Now need of performance testing tool. Okay, so as I said that let us say that when manual testing was already there, so why automation testing came in picture, right? Because something we want always to be done, and that at that time we want to have that cost effective also, that is things should be cost effective, so we want that to be done using a tool, right? And that's why we bring the automation testing in the picture, right? We can save the manpower, we can save the cost, right? And always we can trigger something and it will work. So same case here, that let us say that if we see if we have to test an application, right, from the performance testing point of view. So let us say that one application we designed, my application, right? Let us say I designed one food booking website or app, right? And I want to test it for 1000 user. I am expecting that every day 1000 users will be there, or every hour to 1000 user will be there on my website. So manually if I want to test that, we can do that, but what we have to do, we have to bring 1000 system, laptop or PC, right? And we have to bring 1000 manpower also, and then like this lady as a coordinator, we have to tell them that okay, start doing at a time, all 1000 user open the website and do something. Then we'll come to know that whether my application is breaking or not, it's stable or not, right? Its response time is good or not. So manually we can do, but this is a non-feasible scenario, right? We cannot do, like what if you have 5000 users requirement, 10 lakh user requirement, 50,000 user requirement. So we cannot bring a 50,000 laptop, 50,000 manpower, right? So in that case, that's why we need the performance testing tools. So here tool will come in picture. So a performance testing tool simulate a real user behavior like browsing the web page, login, submit an order, etc., and then generate a desired user load on the server. The tool sends a request in the same manner as a real world user sends, and then receive a response from the server. The tool calculates the time to get that response from the server. Performance testing tools are actually load generating tools, and they do the work of a real user using the application, right? So this is what the main thing about a performance testing tool, like what they do, and why they should do that, right? And why we need that tools. Now two terms are there that we users, right? So in real world, the person who are using the application, we call them as a real user. But same scenario when that is simulated using the tool, the performance testing tool, at that time user load performance testing tool will put the user load, right, as a real user only. So behavior is like browsing the web page, login. So all performance testing tool, we should make them in a manner like they simulate a real user behavior. Okay, and then they generate a user load on the server. Now how to simulate, we'll understand in this point that let us say if we want to become a pilot, right, pilot. So when you take admission, so then they will not give you the directly, they will not give you the flight, the plane, right, airplane to fly. First simulators are there, right, simulators are there. There they will make you sit and everything will be designed like that only, that you will expect that I am sitting in a real cabin and I am flying the flight. The real terrain start from there, and then later on they will give you the real flight to fly, right, real airplane to fly. So same thing here, here the reverse happens. Here real user, instead of real user we will use the tool, and the tool simulates the real user behavior like browsing, login, submit, and generate that much user load on the server, right. This tool send a request in the same manner as real world user sends, and they receive the response from the server. This tool calculates the time to get the response time. Okay, so they actually act as a load generating tool, and they do the work of a real user. Now this load generation, when they are doing user load generation, so when a tool will be doing at that time, we'll be calling those as virtual users. So let us say 1,000 real user you are testing, so you'll call that okay 1,000 real users are there, but using that tool you tested that here again 1,000 users are running and they are doing the action on the website. So at that time we'll be calling them as a V users or virtual user, right. That is what the thing is. Now coming to what the performance testing tool does. So there are three things. Performance testing tool simulates the real user behavior and action simulation in the form of V user. That part we call that as a scripting. Right? Many people have heard what is scripting. So that is what. After scripting is done, we put the user load or user load generation, 1,000 user, 2,000 users, right? And then getting the statics or result. So these are the three main use of a performance testing tool. Correct. Now from this performance testing tool, what we are going to study is the JMeter, because the JMeter is the only open source tool, and there is no other open source tool to challenge it, right. So now we got a clear idea that what is performance testing and what is the performance testing tool and why we are using a performance testing tool, because we cannot bring the real user to test the website, so we should use the tool to test the website, right? And to put the user load over there, let us say 1,000 user, 2,000 user load, and the test the four objective of the performance testing. And what are those four objective? That is speed, stability, scalability, and reliability, right. So here what tool we are going to use is JMeter. JMeter is a performance testing tool, like how we have a Selenium for automation testing, and Selenium is a open source testing tool, so that's why it's getting famous. Now at our end in performance testing we have JMeter, and it's also open source tool, so it's getting famous as well. So why we should learn JMeter? So it's a only pure open source performance testing tool currently in the market, right. It's a free to use, no license needed. It's easy and light to use. It's only 125 MB of file. Even our game in the mobile does not come this much small size, right. Even a Facebook app you will download, it will be like 7 MB, 70 MB I think, right. So that much small it is. Then it's just download and use tool. It can be integrated with many other tools like Jenkins, Maven, InfluxDB, AppDynamics, Dynatrace. Market trend for JMeter tool is increasing. Job for a JMeter trained person is also in demand. Right, industry is moving towards full stack QA. Now what is full stack QA? So you should know the manual testing as well, right? You should know automation testing also. Automation, and you should know performance also. So all these three are termed as full stack QA. And generally developers are also using this JMeter tool to test their code for load testing and stress testing. And this is a true fact. I know many developers their managers say that learn JMeter and test your code locally, right, like that, to do the load testing and stress testing, right. Now this JMeter is fully capable of performance testing of HTTPS web application, FTP server. The server, some servers are there, like we have Dropbox, Google Drive, which are dedicated for file upload and download only. Then we have SMTP servers also, like Gmail kind of thing, right? So that also it's capable. Then web services, REST API and SOAP API, load testing and validation testing can be done. Then database query, okay, DB queries can be tested. Then page load testing. So what is page load testing? We'll see that later on, but that can also be done using the integration of JMeter and Selenium WebDriver, and mobile apps also, right, Android and iOS. So in this course, what I'll be covering this one, web application, then file upload, email, REST API, SOAP API, like web services, then DB queries, and page load testing. So as I said that in this course I'll be covering this HTTP web application, right, FTP server, file upload download, SMT server, then web services, REST API and SOAP APIs, DB queries, and page load testing, okay, JMeter and Selenium WebDriver. So this mobile will not be covered because of I do not have any real-time mobile application, right. So it has some limitation. We can do that using JMeter, but some limitation are there, but we can do. So I have listed over here, right. But basically these all are will be covered, and like 70 to 80% of project in the IT industry are generally the web application only. And what is the web application? So web application is any application that we open through a browser, okay, a browser, www dot and anything. So those all are called web application, and 70 to 80% of projects going in IT industry are web application. So that's why they can be easily tested using JMeter, and JMeter is gaining the popularity, right, popularity. And then DB queries and other thing. Now this one I'll just explain one more point, that DB REST API and other thing we know, right. DB queries. So DB queries no one does generally, not every company does. The big company does. Those company whose product is dealing in the lakhs of data. So let us take an example of IRCTC, Flipkart, Amazon. So their application architecture, if you see, they have only data only. This product data, that product data, right? Their image, their cost, their information, right? And at the end of the day, everything is stored in the DB, right? So those kind of application does the query testing. In DB query, what it happens that they will have the SQL query, big SQL queries are there. We call them as a stored procedure, right? A stored procedure. Generally, we do not have to worry about that. We have to just test that. So procedure they will give you, and just they will ask you to run it from a tool using load runner or JMeter, and just to fetch the response time of the DB query, right, like that. So that is the DB query. And page load testing is also there. So currently since many people are new, this is little bit not difficult, little bit in depth concept. So we'll see that later on, what is page load testing, right. Another thing, now the definition of JMeter, okay. So JMeter is an open source performance testing tool or application or software. It's an open source, right, open source tool. Open source means generally we think open source is free, but actual definition of open source that you can you can use it for your own, and then you can develop that also, and you can integrate that with anything without any restriction. That is the pure definition of open source. And this JMeter is a 100% Java based application. Now what is Java based means? It's a purely developed on Java language, okay, Java language. And it's a platform independent tool. So it means that it can run on Windows OS or any Linux OS, or like Ubuntu are there, or Mac OS also, like those who have Mac laptops. So they can also easily install and they can run that, okay. Now history and version. So parent organization of JMeter is Apache Software Foundation. And you may have heard of Tomcat, right? Tomcat, very famous server. It's a software actually, server software. Or Jenkins. very famous nowadays, CI/CD tool, right? Jenkins. So who is the parent of Tomcat and Jenkins? Means the organization who has developed Tomcat and Jenkins. So Apache Software. Okay, Apache Software.
Apache.
So same is the organization or the parent organization of JMeter, right? JMeter. Now, one people was there who developed this tool. His name was, how you pronounce, I do not know, but Stefano Maggiochi, something is there, right? So this fellow was the original developer of JMeter. He was an employee of Apple, this Apache Software Foundation. Now, this is the official website of JMeter. So what we have to do, uh, even though if you do not remember, so we have to just Google that. If you type here JMeter website, so here it will come, right? This one. So click on that. So this is the official website. It's a whole address is jmeter.apache.org. Here Apache Software Foundation. This is the logo of JMeter, right? And this is the home page of JMeter. And what the JMeter can do means what you can test. As I said, like HTTP, SOAP, FTP, DB database, right? SMTP is there. Some other things are also there. I do not have hands on that, so I am not aware of that. But few more things are there, like LDAP is there, JMS, Java Messaging Queue, TCP, some Java objects. These are also there. And here we can see that it's a purely Java-based application, right? And some other thing they have written over here. So all this this is the official website of JMeter. Generally, some drawbacks are there, so we'll discuss that later on. That why we basically they have developed this website, but they have not given any real-time use of any component of JMeter, right? So this website is poor, but this is what the official website of JMeter. Now. Current version, right? What is the current version of JMeter? So in Google again, if we type JMeter download, so again same jmeter.apache.org and then download link, right? So we'll click here. So currently this is the latest version of JMeter, JMeter 5.3. This is the download page, right? And what they're saying, it's required Java 8 plus. So since it's a purely Java based application, right, develop on Java, so we need to have that Java installed in our system. So I'll show that how to install another thing. We'll see that, but that is the requirement for that, right? Require Java 8 plus. And to download another thing we have to see. So I'll show that soon, that how to download and what are the things to download. So current version is 5.3. It is released just in previous month, like May 2020 it was released, right? And on this page what is the address? Changes history, yes. So you'll get here here on this page only. Just a second. Download, release. This is the home page. Actually that URL is there. I can open that URL, but I just want to show you people. Okay, here here changes history is there. Okay, on the left hand side here on the home page one also we can will get. So this is the home page, right? jmeter.apache.org. And to download you can click on this, so the download page will come. This is the download page. Then here changes history, right? Changes history here same. So click on that and they will tell you that what are the changes that has been made in this version. So what happened that, let us see any product released in market, even in our WhatsApp app, right? So every time updates are coming, right? Because everything new things will be there, or some bug fixes will be there. So same thing here. From the previous release, what is the new changes they made in this the newer version, right? Actually here this is 5.2.1. so after changes history will come here, and then again if we keep click here, so it will take us to the 5.3. yes, here. Okay, so in this 5.3 what were the changes that has been done, they have listed over here. And again, as I said, if you would click on change history directly, so here on this page it's a very long page, and here till JMeter 1.1 something, from that the first JMeter which was launched in year 1998, so this is the version 1. From that till last version of the current release, so current release is 5.3. before that 5.2.1 was there in market, right? So till last one, what was the version when that came, and what are the changes made in that version? It's that they have kept on this page. Okay, it's a very long page, you can see it's very long page. And if you want to read about just the current version change, so we have to click here and it will take us to 5.3. recently I have reviewed that on performance testing blog. It's one blog is there which is very famous, so I have a video there, 5.3 here. Right, this is a very famous performance testing blog, so this is the video. I have reviewed the recent changes done, right? You can watch if you people wish.
Hi all. So welcome to
Correct.
this.
So that is there. Apart from that, yes, so that is the changes page. Okay, changes page. And if you want to download the older version, so they used to keep that as well on the website. So here, when the home page will be there, we have to go to the download releases, and here that archive is there, right? In archive, so on this page latest version will be there. We have to download that. We have to download from this, and which one to download we'll see, right? But we generally download from this, the latest version. If we want to download the old version, so here JMeter archive is there in the archive heading, right? So we'll click that, and here on this next page you'll see this binaries is there. Okay, binaries. So click on that binaries. So here all the JMeter from 2.10, and one will also be there, I think. Even if not there, then I think from 2.10, and when it was released, that year they have kept. Okay, they have kept all the stuffs here. Even the latest one 5.3 is here, and 5.2.1 is here. Okay, the immediate latest one. Before 5.3, 5.2.1 was there. It is there. You can download, and when they were released, that information is also given. Right now, one more thing to take care is that why I'm more discussing on when that was released. That let us say that you want to show 2 to 3 years of your experience in resume, right? So at that time, if you tell that if you go to interviewer, he will ask what is the current version or which JMeter version you used in your career. You tell him 5.3, but 5.3 was released in this year only, right? And you are showing that you are working from 2 to 3 or on this version, so gone, interview gone that time only, right? Correct. So we have to take care of that, like let us say 2 years back, which was the JMeter which you are showing in the resume, means which year you are showing. So at that time, which was the JMeter version, you have to take care of that, right? 3 years back, let us say from 2 years you are working, from 3 years you are working. So at that time, which version of JMeter was there, and after that, which version came. So this information at least we should know, right? We should know. So how we can get on this page? So anyone who is who wish to say that okay, I want to show in my resume that I am working from 2018, right? 2018. So in 2018, JMeter version 4 was there. Okay, October. Uh, this is okay. This is month date. Yes. So year, month, date. So in February only, in February 10, 4.0 was launched. So whoever say that he says that I'm working from 2018, so you should say that I was working from JMeter version 4.0, right? Like that. And yes, and some important changes if you remember, that will be good, but that doesn't matter, right? But at least we should remember the version, which version was there in that particular year, which you are going to show in your resume, right? So for that, this is the link I have just shown you where we can get that, and those uh, we can download them also in that particular. If you want, you can download. Correct. Everything is kept over here. So that is one beauty. Now, how this generally how a performance testing tool like JMeter works. So as we have seen here, that what a performance testing tool does, real user behavior and its action simulation in the form of virtual user, we call it as a scripting, then user load generation, and then get statics and result, right? So same thing, little bit in a pictorial format. This is the JMeter. We'll create the script, mean the user action will be created right inside using that tool. So how that is going to be done, that is what we are going to see in this whole course, right? Basically, right. And load testing is a easy thing. First we have to script, that is the important thing. Okay, so once we script, then we put the load one user, two users, so similarly 1000 users, right? 1000 users, and then all these users send the request, receive the response, send the request, receive the response, and then they gather the response time. So in this diagram, start, then they send something to the server, then they receive response, right? And in between, the JMeter also calculate the response time taken and other statics, performance statics we say, right? Performance metrics is generally the response time, and the server behavior in terms of codes will be there. So we'll see that those things, right? So basically this is what the tool does in pictorial format. And finally we got a report, we call it a performance report or test result report, a test result report. So this is how a tool works. Now, so protocol supported question here. Yogesh, what type of scripting? So type I cannot say, Yogesh, but like how in automation we write some code and then we launch the browser, and that browser is doing the same thing, right? He's launching, then he's logging in, but they are doing the functional testing. Here we also do a kind of launching the browser only, then logging in and then do other thing, right? But here the way is different. So we'll see what is that and how we do that, right? We'll see that. So that is the thing.
Vaibhav, here,
Hmm.
what about this one, the microservices or API, that one?
Yeah, REST API generally.
Yeah.
So we'll see that all thing we'll see. Basically for
Okay.
testing the API we need the endpoints, right? So at that time we have to manually create those endpoints. We do not record those things. So everything we'll see slowly, how to
Oh,
create the endpoints and all that thing.
sure, sure.
Yeah, Ramoji, you were saying anything?
No.
Okay. So protocol supported by JMeter. So I have picked this from the same website here, right? On here they have given these all things here. From that we are going to see that HTTP, right? HTTP, HTTPS, SOAP, REST, FTP, DB, database, then Selenium, right? And SMTP. So this five I'll be covering, right? Five. Then advantage of JMeter. So JMeter tool is an open source tool. It's a GUI, means the user interface of the tool is friendly. It's platform independent. You can use on Windows, Linux, and macOS. Multi-threading framework. So it's designed on Java, right? So in Java there is a multi-threading concept is there, right? So same thing they have bought in here. Means multi-threading means multiple user load generation we can do. Then test result we can get, right? Its installation is easy. It support multiple protocol, or means most of the required protocol for a project, right? It has unlimited testing capability, means like we do not have to pay anything to anyone. If you bring a load runner and other tool, so whatever the tool that we discuss over here, right, some of the performance testing tool I have put load runner, Storm runner, Silk Performer, New Load, IBM RPT, WAPT, VSTS, OATS. So all are all are paid tool, right? So this is why JMeter is famous. All are paid tool, and JMeter is the only open source tool, right? So that is the difference. So here no limitation, right? No limitation. One Gatling is there. So Gatling is newly introduced. It has many limitation. It's not fully paid, fully open source. People say that it's open source, but not fully open source, right? At a certain point of time, you have to pay to the developer, means that organization who has developed. So purely open source is this JMeter only. Then
Vaibhav, one question regarding Gatling. Whenever in the latest projects who are working on agiles for the complete CDCA pipeline, the development team is asking to generate the performance scripts using Gatling. That is what they have proposed us.
Okay,
So
I have not worked on Gatling, but
okay.
it is little bit difficult because you need to have programming to work on Gatling.
Oh,
Scala
okay.
language is used in that. It's a version of Java only. Okay.
Okay.
So that's why it's not much recommendable also, and we do not use. We are avoiding that. First thing, it's not fully open source. Second thing, that you need to have some good knowledge on programming to use that. Okay.
Okay.
And it only supports the web application HTTP protocol. Only it supports
Okay.
that only. So that is the thing. And the programming that is uses Scala. Scala is a kind of big data language, right? So it's a extended version of Java only.
Okay.
So you can suggest them that JMeter will be good. Let rest I do not know, like, right.
Okay.
Because tell them that that is not very much open source, right? You can visit their website, or yes, you can visit their website and you can read. It's not fully open source also. At a point, you have to pay to them.
Sure. Thank you.
Now, yes, so that is unlimited capabilities. Then highly extensible. So extensible means it can be integrated with Jenkins, Maven, right? Then AppDynamics, Dynatrace, other things. So okay, so today what we'll see? Today we'll see the Java, right? So since it's a Java based application that we have seen right now, right? So what we have to do, it requires Java also. It's there on the website as well, right? That we have to install Java. Minimum version is Java 8. Minimum version is Java 8, or any higher version you can do. So we have to install Java, JDK and JRE installation, and its environment setup. So this is also important thing, right? Now what is, so Java is divided into two parts. One is JDK and JRE. So full form of JRE is Java Runtime Environment. Okay, Java Runtime Environment, and JDK is Java Development Kit. Now what is JRE and when that is required? So let us say any application is there, okay, and you just want to run it. So suppose calculator is there, right? And this is the Microsoft calculator, and it has designed on the .NET application, right? .NET language. So to use it, I should have some runtime libraries or libraries file to be installed in my system. So similarly for any Java application, to use it, right? So we should have JRE installed in our system where we want to use them. Now what is JDK? So JDK is for developers who want to develop something, like automation developer also, or the Java developer. So they want to develop it and then they want to run that whole product. So they should have that JDK installed. So that is what Java is divided into two parts. Now we should have both installed here, because in JMeter, sometime at some point of time, we have to write some little bit Java codes also, right? So some use cases are there that is there in course content. We'll see when that is required and how we can write. So when we are writing Java code means we are developing something, right? And normally we will be using. So JRE and JDK both we have to install, right? Now how to install? So first we'll do Google search. Java download. So here when you type Java download in Google, so what will happen? Two links will come. One is www.java.com, one is www.oracle.com. So this is very old link, right? So I remember like 4 to 5 years back, I think the original developer of Java was Sun Microsystem. If you people remember it, Sun Microsystem, the organization who developed the Java thing. So this website is coming from that year, it's a very old, this link is very old link. Now recently Oracle has purchased it from the Sun Microsystem, Java and other all its product. Even the MySQL is there, it's an open source database. Oracle has acquired that. So free version is also there. Some part they are acquiring. I don't know how that works, but it has acquired, right? So that's why this link you should avoid, because here only here latest version of Java will not be there. Now since Oracle has done that, so we have to go to this website. Okay, so click here. Now here all list will be there. So latest Java is Java 14. You can download this as well. Here JDK download is there, right? And other Java version like Java 11 is there. Here JDK that we have to download. Then Java 8, right? Java 8 is there, 251. So minimum we need is Java 8. So JDK we have to download. So anything we can download. Java 7 is also there. Now let us say you want to download Java 8. So we have to click here JDK, right? Or anyone here for 11 and 14 here. Okay, do not go in that much depth. All things are related to Java people. We just need to download and install it. That's it. So let us say anyone. So if I click on 14, or I'll click on 8, right? So here it came. Now from here this is for 14. So list of operating systems are there, right? So those people who have Mac OS, they have to download this file, correct? Those people who have Windows, like I have Windows, so I have to download this file, right? Exe file. So click on that. It will ask a check mark here, put that, and Java download will come and download will start, right? So okay, yeah, this download pop-up will come and we can download, right? Similarly for the Java 8 here, 86 means 32-bit operating system. Okay, those people who have 32-bit. This is for 64-bit operating system. Generally all our operating system nowadays are 64-bit only. Okay, so anyone you can choose and you can click to download. Again here put a check mark and click on download. Okay, I think for this we have to do the sign in. Okay, not sure why they have done. So for Java 14 you do not have to sign in. If you want to download Java 8, you have to create a account with this website, and then you have to, so it's a free, do not worry. You can click on create account, you can create account and then you can sign in, right? Sign in and download Java 8. Okay, so that is the thing. Or 14 is free to download, no sign is required. Now what we have to do? So these all are JDK. Okay, these all files are JDK file, and JDK will install both. JDK file only will install both JRE for you and JDK for you. Both JDK will install JRE and JDK in the system, right? So let us see. deleted or what? Okay, just a second. Okay, not an issue. So I'll download that. I'll just download. I think I have deleted that, right? It's not in download area, so we'll download it, right? So this meeting will end, right? We have to join it back, right? And we'll today we'll finish this part, and we'll see. Okay, so welcome back, right? So here I just downloaded it, Java 14. Here it's looking, right? And here exe.exe file is there, right? It's around something 162 KB of file. It's more than the size of JMeter. Now what we have to do, simply double click on that and it will install. Since it's exe file only, so it will ask some permission. And then next, and here here we can see it's asking the location, right, to install. So here what it's saying, that let us see JDK 14. So first it will install JDK, and then after that it will install JRE. So once you click the next, it will choose the next, and then it's installing, right? So what I'll do, I'll just close that. Okay. So quickly it installed, I think. Just a second. I think version issue is there, or something has happened. Okay, so with my system, or already since
I guess we need to change the path variable so that it points to correct GD.
maybe yes. So let it be. I'll fix that later on. Anything. So that is the way we have to install, right? 14, or I'll suggest that whoever are using whoever are not using other things, so for them please download the 8 only, right? 8 will be better, right? Or why 8? Because I'm little bit not aware that this JDK will install JRE also or not. Basically it should install JDK and JRE. First it will install JDK, and then it will install the JRE in one go only, the same file. Okay, so just check at your end and let me know input, or if you are having problem, then download this JDK. Okay, it will install both JDK and JRE, this one, correct? Or that is there on website also. So I have a little small blog website I have kept there, right? I'll ping that. You can download it from there also. JDK, no need to sign in, JDK 8. So basic thing is, we have to understand that whenever you download this JDK, it will first install the JDK file, then it will install the JRE file. Just check that both are installing or not. And how to check that? So whenever we'll click on that, so first time it's showing JDK. Yes. Next, so here first time it's showing JDK. After the installation will finish, here again it will show JRE. So both it will install, right? And by default, where it will go? It will go in the C drive program files. So we'll go over there, and after installation you'll find that Java folder will be created in the program files of our C drive. So program files here. Okay, here this folder will be automatically created. I mean after installation, So for new people it will not be there. After you install this will be there, and inside that JDK and JRE will be there. See, JDK and JRE will be there inside that. JDK something will be there, and inside this something will be there, right? So this is the way to install. Now one more thing, that some commands are there to check the installation. One command is java dash version, another command is java c dash version. So this java dash version is used to check whether JRE is installed or not, and java c means compiler here, right? So java c dash version is used to check whether JDK is installed or not. And how we can do? So it's very easy. Just open the command prompt, and here type java dash version, and it will show. If it is installed, it will show the success, or if it is not installed, then it will show a error message like this, that if you type the command, so it will show that Java is not recognized as internal or external command, means it's not installed, right? Then then similarly for JDK, what we have to type? We have to type java c dash version. Okay, so this is what java c dash version we have to type for JDK here, and it's showing java c this version is installed, right? Now one important thing to take care that, see, whenever those people who are not having Java, so first type java dash version. Okay, if it is installed, generally it will not be installed, but let it be, maybe in past you have installed that, so you'll get the success information. But if you have not installed that, so install that and again verify. So after installation, again if you type this command, but always remember that if command prompt is closed, you have to reopen that. Okay, after installation, suppose in first go command prompt you have in open mode and you are installing parallelly, right? So you have to close it, and again after installation open the command prompt and then type the command. Okay, like java dash version, so it will show the success message, but this will throw error. This thing will throw error. You will not get even though you have installed, and if you type java c like here, it will throw error. Here for me it's showing success, so we come to know like why. But for you people, JDK java c will throw error even if you have installed the Java, right? So what we have to do, we have to set up this environment variable or home path setup, then only java c will be shown to you in the command prompt and you can verify. Otherwise, without a home path setup or environment variable setup, this will throw an error even you have installed the Java. So how to do that? So let us go to desktop. So everyone has this PC, right, on their laptop, right? So the right click on that and go to properties. Or those who do not have this on icon, so even if you open this drive, right, so here this PC will be there always. Right click on that and go to properties, right? Go to properties. So this page will come here, this window will come here, information about your laptop will be given, right? So what we have to do, either click on here or click here, anyone, both are same. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll click first here. So this one new pop-up will come. This is the pop-up. It is known as system properties. Okay, in that, where we have to go, here some tabs are there, this tab, this tab, this tab, this tab, right? So we have to go in middle tab, advanced tab, click on that. So you'll find environment variables over here, correct, here, and we have to click on that, click environment variable, right? So this is we came from this by clicking on this, or you can click this advanced tab also, advanced system setting over here in the left hand side, and it will directly open that pop-up with that advanced tab selected. So earlier what was happening, when we are clicking over here, this tab was selected, then from here we have to come here, and if you are clicking this, so directly this tab is coming. So both are same, right? Now from here we have to go here, environment variable, click on that. Then here you'll again one new pop-up will come. Here two variables are there, two fields are there. One is user variable and another is system variable. So we have to do generally in system variable. We have to set up the home path, right? Generally, but in office environment, in your office laptop, generally you cannot do in system variable because that is locked. Okay, office laptops. So you have to do in user variable. If you are not able to do in user variable also, so ask the IT guy, they will do it for you. Now what we have to do, so either in user variable or in system variable, find this, this will be there, path. Okay, this will be there. Here also path is there, any one we can choose, but generally we have to do here, that will be much better, right? After selecting that, so select the path, and then after selecting the path, click on edit. Okay, so select the path, then click on edit, and then this window, click on new, right? Here click on new, so one line will be added, and what we have to do is the Java that is installed in my program files, right, in the C drive, right, here C drive, program files, Java. So first we'll set a path for JDK. So open the JDK, open the bin directory, and copy the path up to here. Copy, right? Copy that and put it here in this new line. Same thing do for GRE also. GRE, Java GRE here, bin, copy and put it here. New, again press one more new and put it here, right? So this is known as setting up the home path, environment variable or home path variable. Now I have already done that, right? So after that, what you do after setting, press on OK, right? Press on OK. So since I have already done that, so I'll just delete that. Click on OK, and then just OK. There OK, here OK, and everywhere OK, right? Same thing if you are not able to do in system variable, in user variables also you can do, but always prefer to do in system variable. Okay, here also path is there. Go to edit, click on new, here same for JDK and for GRE, add and click OK, right? Click OK. So that is the thing, and after everything OK, right? OK and OK. And then when you open the command prompt again, and if you type Java C now, so it will show you success. Java C dash version, if you type, it will show the success. Okay, success. So this is the how to install the Java JDK, Java GRE, how to check them using Java dash version, Java C dash version, right? And what are they used for, and how to set up the environment variable, correct? So this is a necessary thing. It's a mandatory thing to do, mandatory, because without that, let us say if Java is not there or Java system variables are not set up properly, so you will face many error. First, let us say Java is not there, so if you try to open the JMeter, right, it will throw error like this. You will face this error. So Java is mandatory, and that setting the environment variable is also a mandatory. Okay, this is mandatory. And how we can do, we have seen, and how we can verify, so using this command and using this command, right? So that is for today's session. Tomorrow we'll see download and launching of Java, sorry, the JMeter on Windows, right? So thank you everyone, have a good day.